Last fall, I had the opportunity to travel to Nashville for a Dave Ramsey conference. It was a chance for me to connect with like-minded people who were looking to make a positive impact on the world. And man, did I have a good time. Even though I was only there for a short period of time, I had the pleasure of meeting Leo and Faith Jean-Louis. Now, this couple has an incredibly inspiring wealth-building story, and I'm excited to share it with you all. This young couple's six-figure debt-crushing success has been featured in major media like Yahoo Finance, and these two were even featured on the Steve Harvey Show. So I'm so glad to have them here today. Welcome to the show, Leo and Faith.
Hey.
Hello.
Hello. Thank you, guys. It's so good to see you again. It was nice to see you in person, and I know during this season, it's nice to see anybody in person. So very good to see you guys, and I'm glad that we have some things in common to talk about today. So let's talk about your story. How did you guys accumulate this debt? We talked about it in the intro. There are six figures of debt. How did that happen? And I guess how much was it in total, and where did it come from?
Yes, so back in 2017, when we said I do, we got married with $211,000 worth of debt. So that was a combination of student loans, credit cards, you name it, personal loans, we had it. And, while we, carried that debt, we knew we didn't want to stay where we were. And so we, got on the same page and decided to go after it.
So what was that pivotal moment, I guess, Faith, I'll ask you, what was that time where you said, all right, enough's enough, we got to make a difference? Or was it just when you said I do?
No, actually, before we got married, we did premarital counseling. So we sat down with our pastors, and the first visit that we've had with them, they asked us what was the vision of our marriage? What can we accomplish together? What's our plan together? So we went back and we thought about it, and we thought about, our goals, kind of what we want our life to look like. And we realized that what was standing in our way was our debt, because we had, what was it, like $2,000 of minimum payments, something like that. And with $2,000 of minimum payments, there was no way that we were going to be able to accomplish the goals that we had wanted to. So we're like, all right, this is a huge thing. We really need to get rid of it. So that's how that started for us.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Okay, so let's talk about what you did at that point to start making a change. What did you do to pay it off?
Oh, so we started with our why. And if you want to become debt-free, you have to have a strong why, because becoming debt-free is a marathon of a journey. And so it's not for the faint of heart. And so we started with our why, and Faith kind of touched on that a little bit. And so part of our why is to leave behind generational wealth, to make sure that our kids, and we have a beautiful son who's 20 months old, and part of our why is to make sure that he doesn't have to start from behind or start from scratch like we did. And a big part of that was, breaking the student loan debt cycle. And so it starts with us and, increasing our financial literacy. And so we started with our why, and that's what kept us motivated along our journey. And so that was the first step. The second step is we had to face the giant. We needed to know exactly how much we owed. And I believe when Faith and I were dating, she had no idea how much debt she had. I had already been working for a few years, and so I had an idea, but she literally did not know how much debt she owed. And so we sat down, took out an Excel sheet, and we plugged in her numbers, and she found out she had $144,000 of student loans, and that was a big eye opener.
Yeah, that's a large amount of money. So Faith, what did you study to get $144,000?
Yeah, so I went to a school called Beloit College in Wisconsin, which is just like the small liberal arts school, and I studied biochemistry there. And when I studied that, I just took out a bunch of loans, and then I decided that I wanted to be a nurse. So I'm a nurse practitioner now. So I had RN loans, I had nurse practitioner stuff, and all of that combined ended up being $144,000.
You're telling me at 18 years old, you didn't know exactly what you wanted to do with your life, and you made some changes?
No, not at
What's
all.
wrong with you, Faith?
Yes.
That's funny. And I don't know if you did this. I did this with my student loans. Not only did I use it for going to school, but I also used it for some other stuff I wanted, like my wife's engagement ring. So I don't know if you used it for other stuff.
Most definitely used it for other stuff. So funny story. took out a whole lot of money from Sally Mae. And when Leo and I were dating, like I was offering to like pay for all this stuff, like, oh, we're gonna go out to eat, like I'll pay for it. Leo's like, wait a minute, why are you paying for it? Like you're in school, you don't have a job. I said, oh, don't worry, I got it. Well, it turned out I had like an $8,000 refund check from Sally Mae that I was just blowing.
Yeah. And so, I was wondering like where she was getting all this money. And, there's nothing wrong with, the woman offering to pay, but I was just wondering where this was coming from. And she had $8,000 just sitting around. And so I asked her to give it back, and she hesitantly and reluctantly agreed. And that's when I knew she was the one.
Right.
I love it. Well, she was trying to be romantic, just like I was trying to be romantic to my fiance at the time as well. So let's talk about how you guys. So you had your why, and then you wrote it all down. So you saw this animal that you had to tame, right? So what did you do at that point to start paying off the debt?
We started budgeting. So we needed a plan for our money. And so when we got married, Faith had just started working, and we started our debt-free journey as newlyweds. So we still had to figure each other out and figure out those kinks as far as, what was the grocery budget going to look like and all these other things. And so starting with a budget is where we went next. And so I remember we tried to figure out, how much we could cut back on groceries, for example. And Faith had to be like, hey, we can't cut back anymore. Like, this is all we can do. Like, there's nothing else we can do. And so we started with a budget just to, see where we were and then see what changes needed to be made. So whether we needed to decrease our expenses or increase our income, and we actually did both. And maybe Faith can touch upon, some of the things that we did to decrease our expenses.
So what we did is we cut our cable. So we went to Walmart and we bought an antenna. And so we have that antenna on our window.
Till this day, we still have it.
So we don't have cable. We were using Netflix. We were using our antenna. We carpooled to work. So we worked on the same side of town. And so every single day we would carpool, and then Leo would come pick me up, and then we would head home. We pack our lunches every single day. Like we still do. And we always ate out at home. I think that's pretty much it for
those are the big things that we did. We sold some stuff here and there. But those were the major things that we did on that side of the equation.
It was more so like a huge increase in income that we.
Yeah. Well, so talk about that. Obviously you guys have two well-paying jobs, and then did you do other things to increase your income?
Oh yeah, absolutely. So we had side hustles. And so between Faith and I, we had 5 jobs during our debt-free journey. And so I worked extra shifts at the hospital on weekends and during the holidays. And Faith babysat and did overnight nursing in addition to her primary job. And we worked like crazy. I mean, there were weeks when Faith was working 70 to 90 hours in a week. And maybe she can even talk about what a typical day during her debt-free journey looked like, because you'd be amazed.
Yeah. So for example, I worked in the morning from 8 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. And then I went to a home to babysit from 5 p.m. to 8 p.m. and then came home, took a nap, and then went back to work and worked overnight from 11 p.m. to 7 a.m. and then turned back around and worked again from 8 to 4:30. I know it was crazy.
Yeah.
But that's how serious we were about getting rid of all this debt. So
wow, yeah, that is a serious day in the life. So I mean, I'm thinking this is newlywed time. You guys are just getting together. I'm gonna be the devil's advocate. Where's the romance? Where's the fun? How did you guys sneak in some fun?
So during our first year of marriage, and I'll take blame for this, it was not the healthiest.
It was not. It was terrible.
At all. It was not the healthiest at all. We were just so driven and determined. So it did help us with our communication, because we were forced to communicate, to see how each other was doing, see where we could pick up the slack for one another, just so we can keep on going. But that was not healthy and not something that I would recommend for anyone else, let alone newlyweds. And so our second year, we did much better by implementing small celebrations for our victories. And so we incorporated, sinking funds for vacation and travel. We incorporated date nights and all that stuff, just to kind of keep us motivated and, on this journey for the long run.
Got it. I mean, you're both looking at each other laughing a little bit. Were there any moments where you're like, this, I can't, I don't know if I can keep doing this?
Yeah, all the time. I broke down and cried often.
Yeah. So you remember that time when you wanted a smoothie? Remember, we pack our lunch and we, cook dinner at home. And so there was one day Faith wanted a smoothie after she had already bought the stuff to make the smoothie at home. And so I remember like we were at this kitchen island, and she wanted a smoothie. I'm like, you have the stuff at home, just make it at home. And she broke down crying because she wanted a smoothie from Smoothie King.
I work every day and I can't even get a smoothie.
Just bought.
It was real.
Yeah. I had a similar story with Nicole. We were on a road trip when we were doing the envelope system when we were, first getting on board with this debt-free train, and we had a certain amount of money in the envelopes, and we were heading up north to spend some time with family, and she wanted to get a Subway cookie, and of course, crazy debt-free Andy was like, we don't have enough money for the Subway cookie. And she's like, let me get the cookie. I'm like, get the cookie, get the cookie, get the cookie.
That's so funny. Was it a macadamia nut cookie?
I think it was one of those delicious ones from Subway.
Yeah, that's my favorite. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. So I guess our point here collectively, everybody who's listening, is yes, this is a very important thing to do to clean up your debt and make some progress in your life and build this wealth, but maybe have some barriers along the way, some fun. And it sounds like you guys built that in. So building in vacations, building in fun, and you started to say you celebrated along the way. So talk about some of these milestones you've hit in this journey and the amount that you've paid off.
Yeah, so the first big milestone that we hit was paying off $104,000 of debt in the first 12 months. And so that was kind of the story that went viral on social media. And people wanted to know how we did it. And so that was our first big milestone. And another milestone was paying off the $224,000. So we started with $211,000. We ended up paying $224,000 because of interest, $224,000 in 2.5 years. So that was a big milestone for us. But take this, if we had paid the minimum payments, the $2,000 minimum payments, it would have taken us 15 years to pay off our debt. And it would have cost us $125,000 in interest alone on top of the $211,000. So you can start to see why we were so determined to get rid of it. And so that was our second milestone. And then our first year of being debt-free was in 2020. And so in 2020 was probably a bigger year for us because we were able to turn those debt payments into wealth building generators. And so in 2020, we saved and invested $127,000.
Wow, that is incredible. I love that flip. You're not paying the interest anymore. You're now earning the interest.